Hey, so today we have amazing questions for you. We're just going deeper into some fascinating subjects. The zodiac channeling that we all agreed was a great idea for us to do is not going to happen today. So we're saving that because that's going to be either like one long session or two shorter sessions where we're going to talk to all of the zodiac signs. We have some really, really, really interesting fascinating topics today, and I feel really, I'm really curious as to what we're going to get. So before I bring in Bahar, I want to tell you about we have two offers this week. So one is a whole new product package that I'm offering. So I've never before done relationship reports, and I'm starting with that now. So I actually have a relationship bundle where I'm doing a synastry report, a composite report, and a Davison report, which is a form of composite as well. So so you can check any relationship from three angles, and this bundle of three reports is normally $99, but because it's like a new thing I'm offering, I'm offering it for $49. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good deal. 49 for um, three perspectives, three three points of view on your relationship. So it's a good time to, I don't know, I thought it was a good timing because, Venus and Mars are conjunct and it's summertime, and I don't know, I'm feeling in a good mood too. I'm feeling a bit more flirtatious and romantic lately. So I think it's going to be a good time. And information on that is in the description box as usual. Then I also want to offer a discount on the Blessed Business course. And the reason for that is because I was just looking through it the other day, and I was really struck by how much value is in there and how much that could be of help for someone who is today in a position where I was a couple of years ago before I started with astrology. So this course is really for anybody who is either a service provider in terms of like reading the tarot, or an astrologer, or doing any kind of service-based business. Maybe you're doing as a hobby or something on the side. The problem with that is usually that it takes a lot of work and effort, but it usually doesn't pay a lot because when you start with these things, you have zero business experience, you don't have a lot of knowledge. And so what I'm sharing in this course are the business strategies and the business ways or the business mindset that works, that are the oh, my talking that the big businesses use. So these are the things that all of the major like billionaire businesses use, like Nike and like major companies use these. But those of us who are like doing this on their own, we usually don't know these things. And the course is actually really, really, really vast. So it's going to take like a couple of months to go through the whole thing. But you can quickly pick up a couple of things that can make a major change pretty quickly. It's divided into three modules. So the first one is to do with mindset, because if you're working for yourself, or if you want to start working for yourself, mindset is a major thing. And so the first one is about mindset and how to get your thinking right in order to be receptive to growth and a better income. The second one is about marketing and sales, because that's really the key things that you need to know in order to make money. And a lot of people are really scared to promote themselves and to really show their value. And that stands in the way of you really helping other people. So if you have something that can actually help people, it's so key that you learn how to convey that to people in the right way so that you can also start making money. So module 2 is about how to like control the money flow in your business and make sure that you can make money off of what you know. Is a major empowering tool. It's so important. And I think also, if you know this thing, if you know the marketing that's in this, you can start a career off of just this, because I think module 2 is really about, I mean, that's basically it's an extra career in case you want to get into marketing, because that's really where the money is. And then part 3 is about systemizing your business so that you can get to a point where it's going to work without you. And I personally think that this is the most important one, especially if you got children. So the whole purpose of why I created this course is because I've done this work for a long time, and for the longest time I was getting by, but I was working really, really hard, and I wanted to be able to offer the help that I'm offering, but also actually live pretty decent myself and be able to take time off every now and then. I know that Lada had I've given these tips to Lada. She's taken part in the course, and it's helped her business a lot. It's given her a lot of time off. She really appreciated it, and so I want to offer the discount for you now. So we're going back to the launch price of $349, and the standard price for this course, I believe, is $5,000, which is, believe it or not, is actually still a fantastic deal considering what this type of course costs out there. I know when I learned this information, it cost me much more than that, many thousands of dollars and many courses. So, but I do want to offer this to those of you who actually need to be able to support your families and do what you love and help people. So the offer right now is $349 for that. And even with this, there's lots of information in the description box. And with the course as well, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you, for any reason, aren't happy, you get your money back. So I don't want there to be any risk involved. I just want this to be helpful for those for those whose life could be improved or changed by this. Now that I've mentioned that, thank you for sticking by me. Let's invite Bahar. Bahar, are you still awake?
Yeah. No, I was listening and I was thinking, maybe I should get the Blessed Business course because
Yes,
I
that's why I
actually got
mentioned it.
my first astrology client.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, I do recommend the course for anybody who wants the tools to like, because when you have knowledge in anything, even like a hobby or whatever, you want to be able to like help people with it in a way that you can actually empower yourself and like make money off of it, you know. And a
Mm,
lot of people, as we went, like we were just talking with Bahad earlier about a lot of how much, you know, shame we have around money as well, and about
mm.
how much like it feels off to have it, or we feel
And
like it's
ask for it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or there's a lot of sense of unworthiness and feeling of like it's bad to have money, or like rich people are bad. And
Yeah.
for me, I mentioned this to Bahar earlier, I've had to do so much inner work related to money. I've had to do so much work on myself because I had a disastrous attitude to money. And so I've been broke a lot. And so there's a lot of suffering that comes with that, because money, I think, is one of the major chains in our lives, and one of the major ways that our freedom is restricted, and our opportunities are restricted. And so that's why if you followed me for a while, you know that I'm really passionate about empowering people in terms of finances. It's really important to me, especially if you've got kids. I mean, being a single mom, I have no shame about the fact that we need to put food on the table. So I don't see that being, I don't have the luxury of saying I'll be fine without it. You know, we have to. If you got kids, you have to take care of your kids. And so I want to help those who are now where I've been. But yeah, money is a major thing, man.
Yeah.
Especially if people are spiritual. There's a
Mm,
whole thing about like it's not spiritual to pay your
yeah.
rent.
Yeah, but even spiritual people have to eat food and pay rent and do all
Yeah,
those mundane things.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. God wants us to be happy. I truly believe that. God wants us to be happy and free and enjoy life.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have amazing questions. I'm just
All right.
gonna hand it over to you, Bahar.
All
because I
right.
honestly I can't wait. I think it's really fascinating. This.
Yeah, me too. Okay, I'm gonna turn off my camera. And whenever you're ready, dear.
Mm, okay, let's go.
Okay, so the first thing that we wanted to do is talk to the moon because we remembered that we haven't been able to talk to her last time when she was in her dark phase. So, Moon, can we talk to you now?
Yes,
Are you feeling more talkative today?
yes,
Okay, good. Have you been able to rest and relax during new moon?
yes. I feel great. I have a lot of light on me. I feel great.
Oh, that's great. So, Moon, you are the planet that is closest to us here on Earth. What do you think about our energy here on Earth?
It makes me happy when you're close to your families. And my energy is so compelling that you can't really choose not to follow it. You may, and you do try to disconnect yourselves from your emotional needs, but you're never able to. My influence is very strong and fundamental to your well being. That if you disconnect from my energy, your life will feel very hollow, very empty. And so you can never really disconnect from me completely. Even when you try, all you do is change the ways in which you find your emotional fulfillment. You can never really choose not to need emotional fulfillment. You will always need it, you will always pursue it, and you will always find it in other people. And so, in a way, I am what motivates you to connect with other people. And that is where your true happiness lies.
And how do your cycles affect us here on Earth?
When I am strong, meaning when I have a lot of light on me, when the sun shines on me, you are more aware of my influence and you are more motivated to pursue emotional fulfillment. When the less light I have on me, the less light I get from the sun, the less you can hear or feel your emotional needs. And so your focus might be on other things, but you may also feel an emotional, not a complete hollowness, but just a lack of focus on emotional matters. The balance is the best because sometimes when I am full, from your perspective, it might be a little too dramatic for you, and there might be too much of a focus on emotional matters at the expense of other things. And when I have no light, from your perspective, it might feel a little too unfulfilling for you. So the balance is really an ideal time for you.
And is it true that we can use your cycles for manifestation? And if yes, how can we be in sync with that?
You can make a wish when I am in my new phase. that is the best time to sow the seeds in a way, to set the intention and then release it to grow during my growth phase. When I am full, it is a good time to give thanks, to give appreciation to me and to the things that have manifested. On my way, in my waning phase, after my fullness, it is a good time to retreat and rest. It is not a good time to start new things, and it is a time in general to enjoy that which you already have and relax. The growing phase is when you will naturally be motivated to start new things and take initiatives. You will naturally have new ideas come to you, whereas you will find that in my waning phase, new ideas will be very, very hard for you to come by. And it will be a time where you will get the most satisfaction out of retreating or resting or focusing on that which is already here, that which is already manifested.
Okay, thank you. And do you have some last words on our spiritual development here on Earth? What is your opinion on that?
Well, sometimes you can be a little immature. Sometimes you argue with or get into conflicts with those that you love the most. This is a little immature to me. Not all of you do it, but some of you express your love or your need for each other by arguing or creating conflicts. I see that in some families. I see that in some close relationships. This is a sign of immaturity. You must face your emotional needs. When you deny your emotional needs in the belief that this denial will make them go away, you become a difficult person to deal with to your loved ones. You must accept the fact that you have emotional needs and know that you cannot negotiate them away. You need your family, you need other people, and they need you. Embrace this, appreciate this, feel the warmth that comes with this understanding, and relax. You are loved. You do not have to start a conflict to gain confirmation that you matter. You are loved. And the less of conflict there is, the more of that love you can feel.
Oh, thank you, Moon, for this lovely advice. Okay, so moving on to the next question. What happens to us spiritually when we take drugs or drink alcohol?
You cut off your connection to your personal insight and connection to divine inspiration. What they give you is relief from the rigidness of your daily life. They give you a reminder of home, of your spiritual home, in the sense that things are less solid, less rigid. They feel comfortable and you feel good. Things are effortless, but it also cuts off your natural and constant connection to your higher self, your spiritual self. And so, in a way, you are recreating the spiritual qualities in your here and now, but you are also disconnecting from the actual source of it. And so it will be a simulation of full unity with spirit, a simulation, but also a cutting off of the actual connection. It is a very strong desire to connect with spirit that is usually the motivator for habitual or excessive use of intoxicants, drugs, or alcohol. It is usually a strong longing for home, your spiritual home. It is also usually because of very rigid, very harsh circumstances in the daily life. So in a way, it is like saying, this is so hard. I want to go home now. And that can mean different things to different people. To some, it is a lack of desire to live. To some, it is simply an escape because of overwhelming difficulties in real life. To some, it is a love of the spiritual state. But if your life is this rigid and this unbearable, that in itself is an indication that you have cut yourself off from spirit. And in that sense, the more you engage in these intoxicants, the more you are cutting off your actual source, and the more rigid your life will be in general. What you can do instead is to strengthen your real connection to spirit, to really explore your feelings, to listen to your intuition, to listen to your deeper feelings, to your core, to honor your higher ideals, to listen to your conscience, do what you know is right, live a life that you believe is good, be a good person that will align you with your higher values and your connection to spirit. We can take some follow-up questions on this if there are aspects of this that are not completely clear. to your audience.
What about when people feel inspired during when they're high or on some kind of drugs? Where does that inspiration come from if they're actually cut off from the real source?
Since it is like a simulation, they will be like they will be in spirit. However, the inspiration when they are high is usually less connected to reality, in the sense that it will be less easy to apply to, to real life. When you are inspired from a direct connection, you will be given the instructions on how to apply these directly into your real life. Whereas if you are intoxicated, you may have some fantastic ideas, but they may usually lack the connection to implementing them into real life. And so you will find that a lot of people who are often intoxicated may have very idealistic and beautiful things to say, but have no idea how to implement them or take them down to reality. And do also keep in mind that for someone who in their sober state has a decent connection to their spirit, they can, when intoxicated, have a more integrated or balanced experience in their intoxication. And so there won't be as much of a disconnect or a contrast between their sober state and their intoxicated state. They will be more integrated. They will actually have more of the positive feelings of intoxication in their everyday life. Their life will generally be less rigid and more flowing, simply because of their connection to spirit. And so you must keep in mind, in terms of, you must keep in mind how much you are connected to spirits in your everyday life, as well as how often you become intoxicated. And these factors will determine what the specific effect is on you. We find that it's too much information to be conveyed, and your channel is not keeping up.
Okay, what about coffee? Is coffee part of, like, is that intoxicating as well?
Somewhat, yes. Although you will find that coffee will not skew your judgment, and the effect of coffee is quite short-lived. And so the use of coffee is usually not excessive, and so you are able to keep your perspective regardless of whether you drink coffee or not. However, if you do have a coffee habit, it would indicate that likely there is some deficiency of something that you need in your life for your fulfillment, which coffee is acting as a substitute for.
Okay, I feel like there's so much more on this topic, but for time purposes, we're going to move on. Next question is it possible to travel in linear 3D time in a physical way?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that in the way that you would understand it, yes. From your point of view, yes. However, you also know that there really is no time. The time really is just an illusion. But with that said, you know that you are programmed to experience time. You're programmed to have the illusion of time. It feels real to you. And from that perspective, yes, time travel is possible.
Have we been able to do that already?
Yes, in the past. From your point of view, the past, of course. There is no actual past, but the way that you understand it, yes, it has been done in the past.
So, are there people from our point of view amongst us right now that came from the past?
We can identify one person.
One single person on Earth?
Yes.
Wow, is that an important person in our world?
No, they would be completely unknown to you. They need to keep a low profile. Most people wouldn't believe it anyway, but they keep a low profile.
So what do they do here? Why have they decided to come to this year, 2021?
They have been here for a while. They are being helped in terms of getting by, in terms of food and the things that they need. They're It seems like they may not go back. It is unclear whether they are able to, but they do seem intent on staying out of free will.
And how have they been able to travel? Like, do they use a specific device, like a machine, time traveling machine?
Yes, there is a device. It is a small one. It's not a device they have to enter into. It's not a vehicle they have to enter into, like in your entertainment movies, but there is a rocket looking, bullet looking thing of about this size that they used.
So that person must keep that in secret right now, because if, people find out that there's such a thing, he would be very...
They have told some people, and these people consider him Strange or weird. It is a male. They do not believe him, but they are helping him. For now, he is just getting accustomed and studying his environment, but there is a possibility that he might have a more prominent role in the future, although from what we can see in the moment, that is not something he has decided on. He has been here for a few years in the region of Russia.
Can we ask what year, from our perspective, what year is he coming from?
40s, 47, 1947, and he arrived in 2013.
Wow. And what was his intention to travel to this year? Was he just curious, or did he have a purpose?
He was involved in secret research. Could be related to the military or government. He was involved in secret research, and so he had access to secret technology. There is an association that is coming up in regards to a mistake or a perhaps there was an experimentation, and there was no certainty on whether it would work as intended. It did work as intended, but there is something of a mistake associated with this situation. There is someone else that is either trying, or it is kind of like we are getting that they are 1.5 people. So either somebody is trying to come or tried and didn't quite succeed, but they are geographically somewhere else.
So there are more than one of these devices that can time travel.
Seems like the other person, if they had a device, the device didn't get through. The other person didn't quite get through either. It is not quite clear to us. But there is a sense that the time traveler has some kind of a communication. We are very unclear on what kind of communication.
Is it possible for us to communicate with people living in different times, in
Yes.
different years?
Yes.
How can we do that?
Well, you already know that your thoughts are communications, and you know that you can telepathically communicate with anybody. And so that is no different. You can speak to anybody or anything from any time. Some prefer not to answer, but then you would be able to tap into their energy and get a reply. But yes, you can speak intuitively to anybody at any time. And that will be a real communication. It will be felt on both sides.
Wow, I am speechless. Okay, so one last question about this. So if I think about someone who has passed away, I mean, I think I already have the answer, then they know, right?
Yes, they
Even
will know
if we've
immediately.
never met.
Yes, just your intention alone will call them to you.
Even if we've never met when they were
Yes,
alive.
yes,
Wow. Oh
yes.
my gosh.
You thinking
Okay.
of them or your intention being directed at them will call them to you immediately. And it is this intention where that when you call a psychic and you tell them about somebody that they've never met, you've not given them a name, it is just someone that you have in mind, it's just someone that you're thinking of. The psychic can pick up that thought, see who the intention is directed at, and see that person. And so the intention is enough. The thought is enough to call them to you. And you will be in communication if you want to.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on. The next question is it unhealthy for us to separate sex from emotions?
It is unnatural for you to do so. Sex and emotions are connected, and so you are a whole being, are you not? Do you leave your arms at home when you take a walk? You take all of you, do you not? Just because you may not need your arms on the walk or in order to walk does not mean that you can leave them at home. You are a full being. You have a heart. You have a mind. You have emotions. You have a physical body. You have longings. You have things that annoy you, that anger you, that make you happy. You are a full being. And so when you enter into anything, you take all of it with you. When you go shopping, you take all of it with you. When you go on a date, you take all of it with you. When you have sex, you take all of it with you. And so it is natural for whatever you do to also be emotional about it or rational about it. You take all of you with you wherever you go. And so you can never separate any of it. You can choose to focus on one thing at a time. You can choose to focus on the rational aspects of something. Yes, you can choose to focus on one aspect of you at a time. However, you cannot exclude any part of you when you do anything. And so, sex and emotions will be connected. It is connected for everyone. Sometimes, especially for those who say that it's not connected. Some people feel very vulnerable in the union with another, that this vulnerability is scary to them, and so they imagine that it might be possible for other people to not feel that vulnerable, or they wish for themselves to not be that vulnerable, and so they decide that they will disconnect emotions from sex. They are obviously not able to do this, but they like fooling themselves. They enjoy fooling themselves, gives them a sense of control. And so you will find that those who claim to separate the two are those that perhaps are most emotional about sex. But you all are emotional about sex. It is an expression of your deepest feelings, your most sacred feelings, your most secret longings, your most secret ideals and hopes and sensitivities. So it is absolutely emotional. If you have a general disconnection from your emotions, which is a highly unhealthy state, if you have been so traumatized or you have not been given enough tools to handle emotions, such as if you have been emotionally neglected as a child, or in other ways, perhaps through drug abuse or other addictions, if you have numbed your emotions to such an extent that you cannot feel them, then yes, you would be able to separate emotions from sex, but you would be highly dangerous for yourself and other people, because by not acknowledging your emotional needs and not being capable of acknowledging your partner's needs, that would make you a highly dysfunctional person, highly unfulfilled person. And so while you may get your sexual needs fulfilled, you will feel extremely empty. But we see this mostly in the cases of extreme drug abuse, extreme addictions, or extreme emotional toxicity. For most healthy people, sex and emotions are always connected, always. If they genuinely are not connected, that is an indication of something being seriously dysfunctional.
What happens to these people if they keep pushing down these emotions and just have sex for the physical part of it?
These people are in a very destructive cycle. So they will, bit by bit, destroy themselves. And it will be harmful for anybody to engage with them in any way that could be affect in any way that could affect their feelings, which in any kind of relationship would be the case. The only people that may not be affected by their dysfunction is other people with the same severity of dysfunction, because although they would mistreat each other or their dysfunction would affect each other, they are so cut off emotionally that they will not feel the effects. So if you have access to any kind of feelings, then they would be harmful for you to be around. These people would need not help, because the illusion is that they need help. And so when you try to help them, when they have a severe addiction, they will just drag you down. Help is not what helps. They themselves have to come to a point where they feel it, to where they can feel that it has reached a limit. Although they are numb to themselves, there is a very deep point in every human being where they have reached a limit that to them is too far or unacceptable. Until they reach this point, they have no issue with the situation. And so once they reach this point and they to themselves have gone past a level that is acceptable, then they will make a change. And so if you are in the painful position of knowing somebody or being close to somebody who is in the grips of severe addiction, know that you cannot help them out of it. You cannot help them out of it. When they come to a point that is their limit, then they will make a change. Only then are they ready to make a change. What you can do as a loved one is to ask them what they need. Be very mindful to separate your feelings of sadness or your desire to help. Separate that from the reality of the situation and their actual needs, because your helping them might enable the situation and prolong the time that they will stay in the addiction. Sometimes helping them will just make the addiction more convenient for them. And when they are ready to change, they will change. One thing you must keep in mind is to not pity them. Do not pity them. Recognize that it is a difficult path, that it's a very challenging path, but do not feel sorry for them. Do not view them as incapable children. View them as capable adults who are now ready to make different choices, and treat them as adults, not as children. Do not enable them. Do not prolong their addiction. Once they know they are ready to live differently and they are treated as an adult by their loved ones, then they will make adult choices. If they are treated like children, then the responsibility will not be on them because they are children, right? If they are treated like children, then the responsibility will be yours rather than theirs, and the power will be theirs rather than yours. And so the change cannot occur. But if you treat them as adults, as empowered people, know that they have the power and treat them as such. Treat them as equals. Do not look down on them. Treat them as equals. No better, no less than you, just different. And that is the best thing you can do as a loved one.
Okay, what about polyamory? I don't know why I've been thinking about that, but what about some people who claim that monogamy is, toxic and clouded by jealousy and that we should be able to love multiple people? What is your perspective on monogamy versus polyamory?
For some people, polyamory is a preferred way because they generally tend to prefer openness and variety and less restriction and rigidity. They are not drawn to the idea of growing old together. They are not drawn to the idea of undying loyalty and those things. To other people are drawn to the idea of undying loyalty and growing old together and becoming family, and the certainty of knowing that we'll stick by each other despite whatever difficulties life might bring us, and that we will overcome them together as a team. And so there are different preferences. Generally, polyamory comes with a need for change over longevity. So you will find that with polyamory, longevity is not necessarily desired. One is not necessarily attracted to the idea of a 30 year long relationship, whereas people that prefer monogamy like that idea and are turned off by the idea of a relationship being here today and gone tomorrow. And so these are different preferences. However, this topic has become very confused in your culture because sometimes you confuse uncertainty with a desire for polyamory. Sometimes you confuse the idea of fear of intimacy, fear of falling in love, and the intimacy that comes with that. You confuse that with being curious about polyamory. And so polyamory comes up in situations where it's not really about polyamory. It's not really about having genuine, open, loving relationships with no guarantees and no security. So it gives the freedom and it takes away the security. So that is what they really are about. It is not necessarily about being with many people. It is not necessarily about being with whoever will have you. It is not necessarily about flattering your ego as to how many people will agree to be with you. And so a lot of people who are not naturally polyamorous in how they truly prefer to be in a relationship, in terms of what they truly seek in a relationship, might think of polyamory as something that is flattering to the ego, because you can make yourself available to people who you wouldn't be able to make yourself available to in a monogamous relationship. We are open to follow-up questions because there is a lot here and the channel cannot keep up.
So can it go as deep when you love multiple people though? Can the relationship go as deeply as a monogamous relationship would go?
There is usually not the desire for that in those who are naturally drawn to the idea of polyamory. In terms of love, there can definitely be strong love in polyamorous relationship. However, you will find that commitment will not be there, in the sense that they can offer love, but they cannot give promises, in the sense that a monogamous relationship would. They might give other promises, but as mentioned earlier, the security will not be there. And so, to some people, that is an aspect of love. Commitment is an aspect of love. To promise that I will be here for you, regardless of how I feel for you in the moment.
Yeah.
I promise you, that is an act of love. I will act in such a way that you can rely on me. That is an act of love to some people. To those who are monogamous by nature, this is an act of love. And so, if you cannot give that promise to some people, that would be considered not as loving as giving that promise, because your parents are always your parents. Whoever gave birth to you will always be your mother, and nothing can change that. And so there is power in standing by someone and being a firm influence. As Saturn revealed, they make things solid. Saturn makes things solid. And so some people want solid and some people do not. Everyone is capable of love, but some people seek more than love in a relationship, because you are capable of loving a lot of people, but in a relationship, there is usually also a few other things you are looking for other than love.
And what about jealousy? I mean, people in polyamorous relationships claim that jealousy is a problem that you have with yourself and that it's unhealthy to occur in relationships. What what is the spirit's point of view on jealousy? Is it totally unhealthy or is there a purpose to it?
Realistically, as humans, it is to be expected that you feel jealous in varying degrees. It would be quite unrealistic for you to never feel jealous. Although, yes, it does come from a sense of insecurity. And so the less secure your relationship, the more room for insecurity in the form of jealousy. The more secure you feel, the less jealousy. And so it is quite common in polyamorous relationships that insecurity is there. It is much more of a common occurrence than it is in a monogamous relationship. In a polyamorous relationship, they tend to consider jealousy as an aspect of the relationship itself, as a daily thing to deal with. However, they leave the responsibility up to each individual to deal with their own jealousy, because the whole premise of the relationship is, of course, to not restrict themselves to each other, and so not give each other the security that they might need to some extent. However, they are willing to give up the security for the freedom and the options. And so this is a choice that might make sense to some people, and to some people it only makes sense for a limited period of time. And so those people who find through polyamory that it is not the ideal situation for them, they will choose monogamy. It is still more often the case that monogamy better serves most people's needs in a relationship. However, polyamory is an option for those that need to figure out what they need and need to get comfortable with the idea of intimacy, which might be frightening to them.
Okay, I can see how polyamory can be helpful in certain periods in our lives, but how, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding this. So one last question about this. How can polyamory be fulfilling in a like long term, like throughout your whole life? How can it be fulfilling to, because you have to open up to so many people but you're only skating on the surface?
To some people, it is a very important time where they are discovering what they themselves want. And so some people can only discover what they want through the exposure to new and different people.
Mm.
For some people, they are quite aware that they are not able to offer what is needed in a monogamous relationship. And they choose to be polyamorous because that takes the expectations off of their shoulders.
Mm.
Some people know that they do not have the tools, the emotional capacity enough for a monogamous relationship. They know that their partner would never be completely fulfilled or satisfied. And so they choose to be polyamorous so that they can be appreciated for what they do have to offer instead of always falling short.
I see. Okay, thank you. Our time is up. I'm sorry I couldn't get to the other questions, but I felt like
Oh,
the last I felt like the question about sex and emotion just got us totally
oh yeah.
into a new topic. I don't know. I felt like I needed to
Yeah.
explore that. I hope it was okay,
It's
like,
interesting
because
how
we
the thing
didn't
of
plan
that's
that.
awesome. I think it's important because the addiction thing and like
Yeah.
enabling and stuff like that, that is maybe someone in the maybe there was a lot of people listening that are struggling with this and sort of
Yeah.
needed it, and so we channeled it for them, maybe.
Yeah, totally. I think also I don't know why that came up because polyamory is not really, connected to that, but I
Mhm.
felt like it came up, so I felt like exploring that topic too. I hope,
That's
it was
awesome. Yeah,
relevant
yeah,
for
yeah.
someone in the
It is. I
audience.
think it's one of those things that has come up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting because I could see that a lot of things are confused for polyamory, where
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it justice. I felt like there was more and I couldn't see exactly what, but I felt like there was a lot of any issue that people have with relationships tend to be like, okay, then it must be the option. Another option is polyamory. And so
Yeah.
it tends to be like confused in that sense. I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
somebody listening who
Mm,
felt confused about this, or who was, in a relationship with someone who's exploring this right now, maybe
mhm.
it's been helpful for I hope it
Yeah.
was helpful. Yeah.
Oh, I bet if it came up, it must have a
Yeah.
purpose.
I'm
It's
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Also, it
awesome.
was very interesting how Spirit kept saying your channel can't keep up.
Yeah, yeah. I
And you were
I
like,
didn't want to like step out of it and be like, yo, I can't keep up. So I just let them speak for me and like
yeah,
I really couldn't keep there was so much and then I lost track and then so that was a way of
we're
without
only
stepping out of it.
human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was
You did your best. I
yeah.
think you did. I think it was very interesting. I mean, I was like shook when you
Yeah.
said like there's a person from like the past here, and I was like,
Yeah, I thought that was
oh my
really weird.
gosh.
What you know what I think is weird when it's like one person, it's like one
Yeah,
like there
like
isn't like
why get
30
so
40
specific?
yeah, and also it's super rare that I get dates.
Yeah,
That's so rare, but I got specific dates and that was really weird. That was really
yeah,
weird. A little
very,
disappointed that it was from the 40s and not from like 1300
yeah.
something.
But I thought like that's why I asked, because I thought, that poor dude must be so overwhelmed with our
Yeah,
world if he came, from I mean it's already like the 40s were much much different, but imagine he came
yeah.
like from 1800 so and so, and then he
Oh,
arrived in our like
yeah.
world full of microwave pizzas and I don't know, just
Yeah.
all this
I mean, I can't even
technology.
imagine.
That poor dude must be suffering.
What I think is a little what bumming me out is that like I don't see how I could like verify this. Like I would like to be able to like Google it and like is this true and
Yeah.
like were they doing experiments like this in the 40s? Like were they, is it Russian intelligence? Is it who is doing these in the 40s? I want to like Google it. So that's a little
But
so
this
I
is
get a
like
little frustrated
secret
when I can't
stuff that
verify
you
it.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's already quite impressive that you were able to channel this. Maybe some like ancestors of that like were in the channel. Like maybe you were channeling some ancestors of that person today. Who knows?
Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting, mind-boggling too, because time is an illusion. So I'm like,
Yeah,
how does this work?
I know. I was like,
Oh, it's so crazy. I love
also
it.
like I was like I felt like, oh my gosh, I need to like ask questions about this, but then I was like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do with this information?
Yeah, I know. It's
It's
like
so
too much. Like, where do I
specific.
even start? Yeah, that's cool though.
I
That's
love
really
how like we never know where it like brings us. It's
hey, yeah.
always
And it's
an
always like every
adventure.
time I'm assuming, like, I'm pretty sure Spirit's gonna say something like this, and it's like not
Yeah.
that at all. It's always sounds like something different. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah. I
love it.
love that.
Yeah. So everybody, please write more questions.
Yeah.
We're so happy to see that there were so many questions. There were so many awesome questions, and yeah, just please keep providing more. We will get to each and every one over time, I'm sure. So if we haven't brought it up yet, I mean, over time we'll get to it, I'm sure. And
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
we want to also do the zodiac one, isn't it? We want to do the zodiac one at some point, maybe
Yeah.
next week. We'll see. And so for the zodiac one, do we have questions or do you want to see what people have to
Yeah,
say?
if you have like specific questions related to the zodiac channeling, let us know, because so far
Yeah.
what we've been getting was how can we sort of remedy the difficult, like lower manifestations of each sign, and then
Yeah.
how can we sort of bring up the positive or
Yeah.
the effective manifestations of each
Yeah.
sign. Yeah.
That's what we have. That's the idea we have. If you have something to add, let us know, please.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I want to remind everybody that I'm actually doing relationship reports now. So if you have met somebody or you've been together for a while and you haven't done like a relationship report, now I'm doing a bundle, 3 reports and one, no, actually 3 separate reports for $49. That's a synastry, a
That's
composite, and
an
Davidson.
amazing prize. That's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
deal.
because
Yeah, go for it.
personally, I don't like to do just one. When it's someone that I'm interested in, I don't like to do just one. I want to see it from like every possible angle.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's funny because it's like over time, if it's a new person, you'll find that like some things will play out over time that like, because in the beginning, maybe everything seems rosy and perfect. And then over time, you'll be like,
Yeah.
oh
I
yeah, I
heard
did read this, the report that they had some this or that. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard the composite chart plays out later, like once you've lived together for a while, but that's what I heard. Yeah.
That's kind of been my experience as well, that
Mhm.
the composite chart is like not so much in the beginning, but I think the synastry is like you
Tree
can
is
tell it
more
in
like,
the beginning. Yeah.
yeah,
Not
it's like
everything,
if
obviously.
there's gonna be chemistry and all that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then synastry is also good to see like is it fated or is it like synastry
Mm.
is also funny because sometimes it's like literal, like wherever they put their moon is like, one person had put the moon in my third house and that I started calling my mom a lot, like moon in third house is like so sometimes it's very
True.
like I think that is
Oh,
really
that's
funny,
funny.
like
Yeah.
I love synastry. Synastry is probably my favorite because it's I don't know, I like synastry. And
Mm.
then the business course. So if you are doing like a side thing on the side, like you're doing tarot, you're doing astrology, or any kind of skill or hobby that you're doing on the side, the Blessed Business course can actually take that to a whole new level for you. There's also, if you're looking for a whole new career, this is it. There is
Mm.
information there that can help you monetize anything and actually do it in a way that feels good to your soul, that is like, because a lot of people have issues with sales because it's like we feel unworthy, or we feel like sales has traditionally been like you're trying to trick people,
Mm,
whereas
fishy, yes.
yeah, whereas this actually, I'll tell one secret about that, how to be successful at like sales and marketing. One of the major keys is that like you want to get straight to those people who actually want what you're offering. So
Mm.
the clearer you can be in your message in terms of like when you're writing a marketing copy and you're saying like, for example, if I'm offering remedies, so the first thing I'll say is that like, are you struggling with a difficult placement in your chart? Like that's the first thing I'll say because that's the
Mhm.
only people I want to talk to. Those are the
Yeah,
people I'm actually
yeah.
going to be able to help. Anyone else I can't help. If they have an issue with, I don't
True.
know, a leak in their, plumbing, I don't know. I can't help with that. That's something else. I don't want them to buy my
Yeah.
product. I want to get straight to whoever needs it. And so that feels awesome because then you're actually making a difference. You're actually helping people, and
Mm.
so you're not getting yeah. So you don't have to like push people to buy it from people who don't need it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Those are the
So
worst ads.
that's what people don't like. I mean, I don't like those like salesy people that are like trying to convince you that you
Yeah.
need something you really don't. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you hate that stuff like I do, like most of us do, this is a really comfortable and convenient way to just reach those people that you're trying to help. And so they know how to identify you. They'll know from the first sentence, okay, do I need this or not? If they don't need it, they can just pass it by. And if they do want that, then they'll read on. So things like that. So yeah, so that's going to really make a difference. It can really empower a lot of people. It can definitely empower you if you have. It's also good for the inner work. In the part one is a lot of inner work to do with your attitude to money and attitude to your own growth. Stuff that I've had to work on for years. It's very, very foundational stuff. And so the part one is on that alone, because if you don't do that part, the rest isn't going to work for you.
Yeah,
So,
I think we underestimate that like the psychological part behind
oh
our money
yeah,
mindset. I think it's
I've
very
had to work
important.
on that a lot. Yeah, I've
Mm.
had to work on that a lot to like, yeah. Oh well. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Keep writing questions and tell us what you think. We love reading the comments. Don't you? I love
Yes,
reading the comments. Do you?
me too. Oh, I
I
always
love.
love when you give us lovely feedback, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you so much
honestly,
for all the
yeah,
love.
honestly, everybody who writes beautiful comments and encouragement and questions and that are engaged, I don't know if I've been able to convey it enough. It means so much. Like we see it all. I definitely do. Like I'm reading that like before I go to bed. It makes me so happy. It's so meaningful. It's like
Mm,
I really appreciate it. I really, really
yeah.
appreciate it. Um, just the fact that somebody's taking time off of their day to write something
Yeah.
positive. I think
Yeah.
that's so incredible. I feel
Warms
like,
my heart. Yeah.
yeah, they're like they've taken their energy to, I don't know. I think it's really admirable. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.